This is the story of England, from prehistoric times up until the departure of the Romans in 410 AD. A quick disclaimer. There are different definitions for what constitutes Europe and England. I'm using England to refer to the island today known as England, while Europe refers to the continent. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. During the Stone Age, England was home to some of the most sophisticated cultures in Europe. We don't know much about them because these societies didn't leave much behind in terms of written records. Almost everything we do know comes from archaeologists digging up physical evidence. So how exactly do scientists figure out how people used to live thousands of years ago? Well, they use something called the three-age system, which categorizes human history into 3 periods based on what materials humans used to make tools. In the Paleolithic era, or Old Stone Age, dating from roughly to 0.6 million to around 10,000 BCE, early hominins used rudimentary tools made of chipped stones and primitive weapons made of wood or bone. Humans migrated from Africa across Europe and eventually reached Britain during this period. It wasn't until the Mesolithic era, or Middle Stone Age, between 10,000 and 4000 BCE, that we see more advanced tools such as microliths, small pieces of flint that could be inserted into handles to form arrowheads or other cutting tools. With the advent of warmer temperatures following the last ice age, Britain became more hospitable to humans, leading to an increase in population and the beginnings of agriculture. During the Neolithic era, or New Stone Age, around 4000 to 2500 BCE, humans domesticated animals and began farming crops, which led to the establishment of permanent settlements. This period also saw the construction of megalithic structures such as Stonehenge and Rollright, hinting at complex religious beliefs and social organization. However, England during the Stone Age remained largely unknown due to the lack of written records, leaving us with more questions than answers. The Bronze Age in England spanned from around 2000 to 700 BCE, marking a significant shift in technology and society. It witnessed the introduction of bronze, a harder and more durable material than the stone tools of the Neolithic age. This advancement allowed for the creation of more sophisticated tools and weapons, including daggers, swords, and axes. Agriculture continued to develop with new farming techniques and the domestication of new crops and animals. The population grew and the first towns began to emerge. The beaker culture, characterized by the use of ceramic cups or beakers, spread throughout Europe during this period, indicating cultural exchange and possibly migration. Hill forts were constructed for defensive purposes and burial rituals became more elaborate, suggesting a growing concern with death and the afterlife. While England during the Bronze Age lacked a centralized state or writing system, it laid the foundation for the emergence of more complex societies in later periods. The Iron Age in England, spanning from around 800 BCE to the Roman conquest in 43 AD, marked a pivotal point in the island's prehistory. During this era, ironworking technology arrived, offering greater durability and versatility in tools and weapons compared to bronze. This technological advancement coincided with the arrival of the Celts, a group of Indo-European peoples who spoke similar languages and shared cultural traits. The Celts brought with them a more complex social structure, including a warrior aristocracy and a distinct religious system centered around the worship of nature and the otherworld. They established hill forts as centers of power and engaged in extensive trade networks that connected them to continental Europe. During the Iron Age, several notable archaeological sites were occupied, including Maiden Castle, one of the largest Iron Age settlements in Britain, and Glastonbury Tor, believed to have been a religious center. Ritual practices involving human sacrifice flourished, reflecting the importance of religion in their daily lives. By the end of the Iron Age, England had transformed into a landscape shaped by Celtic culture, ready to encounter the Roman world. As we begin our journey through Roman England, it's important to note that the island was not a unified entity, but rather a collection of chieftains and tribes, collectively known as the Britons, speaking various Celtic languages. Among them were the Cuchuvaleni, Atrabat, Iceni, and Trinovantes. Each tribe had its own chief or chieftainess, with power often passed down through matrilineal lineages. For example, Boudicca, who will play a significant role in Roman-British relations, belonged to the Iceni tribe and was the wife of Prasutagus, who left her in control after his death. Each chieftain maintained autonomy and often formed alliances or rivalries with one another, engaging in frequent warfare and adjusting allegiances to suit their interests. This political fragmentation would become both a challenge and an opportunity for the Romans, as they sought to conquer and govern these diverse and fiercely independent peoples. Before we get into the Roman conquest of Britain, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss any of our videos. In 55 BC, Julius Caesar led the first recorded invasion of Britain. But why did he do it? Well, the Gallic Wars had just ended with Caesar conquering northern France, aka Gaul, and Caesar wanted to secure his northern flank against potential threats from these mysterious islanders. Plus, Britain had been a thorn in Rome's side for years, attacking Roman ships and even collaborating with Caesar's enemies in Gaul, so maybe a little payback was in order. But it was only a token force, 4,000 strong, and it barely scratched the surface. They easily defeated the local tribes, but they retreated after realizing the logistical challenges and the fact that the rest of Britain was still waiting. Caesar returned in 50 BC with a larger force, but his invasion was disrupted by storms and he had to retreat. Both attempts failed, and Britain remained free from Roman domination, at least for now. However, the idea of conquering the island lingered in the minds of Roman leaders, setting the stage for future attempts. Fast forward a few decades to 43 AD. Emperor Claudius, thirsty for military glory, set his sights on Britain. He wanted to outdo Caesar and secure his shaky reputation as emperor. So he assembled a massive army, 40,000 men strong, and sent them across the channel to conquer the island, forever changing the course of British history. In the summer of 43 AD, the Roman army landed in Britain, specifically in the area known today as Kent. It was likely a surprise attack, as the locals didn't expect the Romans to follow through on their threats. This location was probably chosen for its strategic value. Kent had access to the English Channel, allowing for easier transportation of troops and supplies from Gaul. Plus, it was close to the native tribes, giving the Romans a starting point to launch their campaign. What's interesting is that we know so much about this invasion thanks to a single account by the Roman historian Suetonius. Apparently, the Romans even brought an elephant along, which must have terrified the poor Britons. This detail suggests that Claudius wanted to make a spectacle of the invasion, showcasing Roman military might to impress his subjects and establish dominance from the get-go. The invasion force was divided into 4 legions, Legio II, II, IV, and V, under the command of 3 experienced generals, Aulus Plautius, Ostorius Scapula, and Julius Civilis. These generals were no strangers to warfare. In fact, they had all fought in Caesar's Gallic campaigns, gaining valuable experience that would prove useful in Britain. Their task was daunting: to subdue an entire island full of fierce warriors and unfamiliar terrain. Still, the odds were in their favor. The Roman army was well trained and disciplined, equipped with advanced weaponry and eager to prove itself. Let's rewind a bit to get a glimpse of Roman military might. The Roman legion was the backbone of the Roman army, consisting of about 5,000 foot soldiers and 1,000 cavalrymen. They were highly trained, disciplined, and organized, utilizing advanced tactics and strategies. Discipline was paramount, with soldiers drilled to follow orders without question. Soldiers were typically equipped with a sword, shield, helmet, and armor, with officers carrying additional weapons such as a dagger and spear. Their discipline and training enabled them to adapt to various terrains and weather conditions, making them formidable opponents wherever they went. Initially, the Romans focused their efforts on the southeastern part of Britain, facing minimal resistance as the local tribes were unprepared for the Romans' superior numbers and firepower. This allowed the Romans to make swift progress, establishing bases and securing their flanks. However, as the campaign continued, they encountered fiercer opposition from tribes further inland, including the Cotuvellani, Atabates, and Iceni. These tribes, known for their fierceness and martial skills, resisted the Roman invaders, slowing their advance and inflicting casualties. Despite the setbacks, the Roman generals proved adept at strategy, employing tactics such as encircling and outmaneuvering their opponents. They also utilized their engineering skills to construct fortifications and supply lines, enabling them to sustain their forces over extended periods. Eventually, through a combination of military prowess and diplomacy, the Romans gradually subdued the interior tribes, expanding their sphere of influence across Britain. But their journey was far from easy, as each step brought new challenges and battles. And it was just the beginning of their conquest. To effectively govern the newly conquered territory, the Romans needed a system to manage their vast holdings. They established a hierarchical administrative structure headed by a governor appointed by the emperor. The governor resided in the provincial capital, Londinium, overseeing the province's affairs and maintaining order. Below the governor were local administrators responsible for specific districts within the province. This system ensured direct imperial control over Britain, collecting taxes and maintaining stability. And then there was the famous Boudicca. You see, when the Roman governor of Britain, Suetonius Paulinus, left the island to fight in the revolt in Boudicca's domain, she seized the opportunity. In 60 AD, she rallied the Iceni and other local tribes, burning Roman cities like Camulodunum and Londinium. She aimed to expel the Romans and restore independence. But her forces, though initially successful, were ultimately defeated by the Roman governor's return. The severity of Boudicca's revolt highlighted the tensions and resentment simmering beneath the surface of Roman rule. While it was ultimately crushed, the rebellion served as a warning to the Romans that maintaining control over Britain would require constant effort and sensitivity towards local populations. By the mid-1st century AD, Roman rule had become firmly established in Britain. Cities like Eboracum, York, and Victrix, Chester, thrived as centers of administration and trade. Roman law and administration were imposed, bringing a new system of justice and governance. The influx of Roman settlers and merchants introduced new customs, language, and ideas. Romanization, the process by which non-Roman populations adopted Roman culture, began to take hold, influencing art, architecture, and daily life. However, the extent of Romanization varied across Britain. While some areas, especially cities, embraced Roman culture, others retained more of their Celtic traditions. This coexistence of Roman and Celtic cultures created a unique blend of influences that would shape British identity. As the centuries passed, Roman Britain reached its zenith around the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. Cities grew, trade flourished, and Roman villas dotted the countryside, reflecting the prosperity of the province. The construction of the Roman occupation of Britain lasted for almost 400 years, leaving an indelible mark on the island. Despite the hardships and conflicts, the Romans brought advancements in infrastructure, administration, and culture. As the empire's grip on Britain weakened during the 3rd and 4th centuries AD, the island's fate hung in the balance, preparing it for the tumultuous period of Anglo-Saxon settlement and the rise of a New England. If you found this video intriguing and want to continue exploring ancient history, check out my latest video on the incredible archaeological finds at Hadrian's Wall. It covers recently discovered artifacts and insights into the lives of the Roman soldiers stationed there. If you're already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. If not, consider subscribing and joining our community of history enthusiasts.